I will lead you alive, I will lead you alive. Hey, it's my birthday! What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite albums. And today, I am officially an adult. But also, I will be reviewing the latest, not the late, what? No, not the latest, but still a great album nonetheless. Radiohead's In Rainbows. Let's go! So Radiohead is a band formed in UK in the early 90s and is one of my favorite bands of all times. It's not if not my favorite. The vocalist is the amazingly talented Tom York. The lead guitarist is Ed O'Brien. Also, the bassist is Colin Greenwood. Colin Greenwood's brother, Johnny Greenwood, a musical genius, is also in the band, and we have Phil Selway, the drummer. The album is also produced by Nigel Godrich, and the album art, which is really special, and also the album art, which is, in my opinion, my favorite album cover in Radiohead's discography, is designed by Stanley Donwood. So, Radiohead. They started off their career with the studio album Pablo Honey, released in 1993. I mean, there are a couple of EPs before that, but Pablo Honey, which is actually not a bad album at all, even though in comparison with the rest of their catalog, it pales, it's stale, and nonetheless, it's still a pretty good alt-rock album with some sweet tunes. In 1995, they dropped The Bends, which is like Pablo Honey, but so much more updated, advanced, with better songwriting, better lyrics, amazing chords. And then in 1997, we have the incredibly seminal OK Computer. Seminal? Seminal. OK Computer, which is also an alt-rock album, but super sad, depressed, emotional. And then in the year 2000, they have gone one of the greatest left turns in musical history with Kid A, where instead of making alt-rock music, they sort of do everything with, sure, alt-rock, art rock, but also a little bit of art pop, electronic dance, ambient, just experimental music in general, maybe a bit of noise. And Kid A is like one of my favorite albums of all times because every single track is like a world of its own. It has personality and style of its own. Every single track is so different, yet they flow together so well, and each track is also amazing. And then we have Amnesiac in the year after, in 2001, which is like Kid A, maybe a little less memorable, but still tons and tons of great songs on Amnesiac as well. The jazzy ending, the weird mystical reversed second last track, Like Spinning Plates, Pyramid Songs, is a very emotional and sad sort of deserty song with an odd rhythm. The crunchy, deserty banger, I Might Be Wrong, just a lot of great songs as well. In 2003, they released Hail to the Thief, which is a more angry, political centered album, which also has a lot of amazing songs and, in my opinion, absolutely underrated. Even though it's not one of the best Radiohead albums, it is still really, really great. I mean, all the way from the Orwellian apocalyptic opening to the very dejected and just screw everything, I don't care anymore kind of ending. The track There with its golden chords, the very rough, distorted, crazy mixomatoses, the very migraine-inducing danceable banger of a Backdrifts. A lot of great songs here and there. The angry piano rant on A Punch Up at a Wedding. And then in 2007, we have In Rainbows, where they sort of depart from the EMI studios because their contract is over. And so before they joined the XR record label, they actually made In Rainbows and decided to release the album digitally in their website. So it's kind of indie, kind of independent actually. And what's even more special is that people who buy this album can pay whatever they want, which is crazy. Which is a crazy concept. because this means that people can pay for this album for $1,000. They can pay 100. They can pay 10, and they can pay 0. They can get this album for free. They can pay whatever they want. But because Radiohead fans are good fans, I think Radiohead actually got more money than they normally did with their previous albums in Rainbows. So that's really impressive. And then they sort of joined the XR record labels, and they started releasing these physical copies of In Rainbows on vinyl, and in the vinyl cover, the album cover is DIY, do it yourself album cover. Damn, I want to get the vinyl for In Rainbows as well. And yeah, there are also a few other things about this album that you should learn. Some fun facts. Given that OK Computer is released in 1997 and this one released in 2007, it is exactly 10 years apart. People actually came up with a theory that OK Computer and In Rainbows are supposed to be the same album, a double album, but not, disc 1 OK Computer, disc 2 In Rainbows, but more like the first track is Airbag, OK Computer, and then the second track is 15 Step, and then the third track is Paranoid Android, and the fourth track is Bodysnatchers, and just sort of alternatively. And that's a very interesting theory. It's called the 0110 theory, and it's sort of like between every single track in this double album, the tracks sort of fade into and out of one another, and they actually sound like they make a lot of sense. Also, the lyrics, they're actually sort of interconnected, so it's a really interesting theory. And yeah, before I talk about In Rainbows, in 2006, Thom Yorke actually released a solo project by the name of The Eraser, which I think is not bad at all, even though it's not all that great. We have tracks like Analyze, which is pretty cool. The track Black Swan is a really laid-back, relaxing, catchy track about how things are fucked up. And the album ending, Harrow Downhill, is also really memorable. And I really like the line, did I fall or was I pushed? It's really thought-provoking. Anyways, In Rainbows. Yeah. Wow, this is like another friggin' amazing album. This album is also an alt-rock album, like OK Computer or The Bends, but except this time it's so much more versatile, so much more creative. Even though every single track is rock-oriented, every single track sounds very different. We have tracks that are more piano-driven, we have tracks that have a quicker, snappier beat, we have tracks that are slower but still somewhat rock oriented. There are just so many shades and colors, and it really fits the album cover. It's very colorful of an album. And also there aren't really music videos to this album, but we have fan-made music videos. We have Live from the Basement, which is fantastic. We have another live thing called Scotch Mist, which they did at the same time in the same album cycle, and then we have these live performances which are amazing as well. So starting off, we have the first track, 15 Step, which is an amazing opener. We get a clappy beat in 5/4. This is probably like the catchiest song I've ever heard. That is in the 5/4 time signature. And the opening is really humble. We get these bare vocals that are very nice. We get these warm guitars. And the guitars and the bass, they sort of layer up and they sort of build up to the climax of the track, which is incredibly satisfying. We also get these kids shouting once in a while to add more energy and personality to the track. We also get the mumbly, breathy ending to the track, which transitions to Bodysnatchers. And it's really amazing. I really love the climax of the track as well, where it's just the guitars and the 5/4 beat, and it's just so danceable. It's just yes. Anyways, Bodysnatchers is a fiery banger of a rock track. We get these scratchy, distorted, fiery, intense lead guitars, and also these crazy vocals by Thom Yorke. I've no idea what I am talking about. And then we get these syncopated drums. Boom, 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 boom. And yeah, the guitars, they're fiery, they're crazy, and then we hit the second half of the album where the keys change entirely. It's a really, really smooth transition as well, but the keys, they just change and they become super lost and emotional, yet the drums, they keep going, and it's like life is actually not that great, but we still need to keep going because this is how we live, basically. And we got this, has the light gone out for you? 'Cause the light's gone out for me. It is the 21st century. It is the 21st century. And also at the end we have I'm a la 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 la, which is really interesting because the title of the track is Bodysnatchers, and if you don't know what a body snatcher is, a body snatcher snatches your body. So it's a different person but with the same body, like a flesh vessel. So I'm a lie, which makes sense. And then at the end, it just quiets down, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's building so much potential energy. It sounds like it's about to explode at any given second, and it did. It exploded at the end, and it's crazy. Freaking crazy. The third track is Nude, and it is a really slow and quiet song. Something really magical happens in this track, and that is the intro and the outro of the track. They're like reflections in a mirror, and that the intro, if you reverse the intro chords, they become the outro, which is really nice. So it's like a reflective song, a symmetrical song, and it's really amazing. But the center part of the song is actually really quiet, really slow, and really sad. But if you know Radiohead, you know that they make a lot of sad music, but each sad song they make is different in that there are so many shades of sadness. I mean, we've gone over a haunting, smoky, shadowy kind of sadness on How to Disappear Completely, sort of in your face chills to the spine, dark sadness of Street Spirit Fade Out, and also the very dreamy, mystical pyramid song kind of sadness. And then we have a Nude kind of sadness, which is just super quiet. But it doesn't feel boring at all. You feel like you're being transported to a very compact space, and it's actually really calming, really peaceful, really serene, and you sort of focus on every single word that comes out of Tom York's mouth, and also every single guitar line, every single drum beat, because you're just so focused. And the strings are very fluffy, angelic, and lush. We get these scratchy guitars which add a very nice texture to the track. And this track is actually from a long time ago. They shelved it for a very long time, and the fact that they're bringing this up again in an album and make it so much better is just genius. Just the patience they have. Instead of releasing it as a B-side, they actually make it even better and then put it in the studio album, which is really great. And the lyrics, they're really interesting. They're essentially about disappointments. Don't get any big ideas, because they're not gonna happen, which is really realistic. And I really like this line. I can relate to it a lot because I get disappointed all the time. And we also have the ending of the track, you'll go to hell for what your dirty mind is thinking, which is hilarious. And yeah, a really great track as well. The fourth track is Weird Fishes / Arpeggi or Arpeggi. And we get these quick, snappy, crispy drums, and then these warm layers of guitars. Again, something that bugs me about Radiohead is that the chord progressions they come up with songs, like it's genius. How did they come up with these chord progressions? It's crazy. Like no one on earth would be able to come up with chord progressions like this. Like no one, but Radiohead. How did they do it? I don't know, but the chords on this thing, the combination of chords, they're warm, they're blissful, they're sweet, yet somewhat reserved. There's a certain sadness in it, but also a certain happiness. It's conflicting emotions, and it's really, really beautiful. The lyrics are absolutely gorgeous as well. Your eyes, they turn me. And also the lyrics is more about jumping into the sea, which reminds me a lot of Pyramid Song, but also just sort of jumping into the ocean because you feel like you don't exist anymore. And it's a really, really sad song lyrically. And we also get Ed O'Brien in the back. And then at the very, very end, the song quiets down and becomes very focused. And then there's another key change, a rhythm change, where all the instrumentals, they become super stripped back, primal. The guitars are noisy, drony, monotone, and then the bass and the keyboards, they pop up, and it's very colorful, but yet it feels final, it feels very emotional. And Tom York sings, I hit the bottom, and escape, and escape, and it's just, damn, it just hits you in the heart. We have All I Need, which has these steady 4/4 kick drums, very slow, deep pitched keyboards that I think sounds like a cello, but it's very much likely to be just keyboards. And also these other keyboards that are very sunburnt and distorted. And it's a very calming song, very peaceful, very calm. We have the melodies in a lower register, which is very gentle. We get these xylophones as well, which is really nice. And then towards the end of the album, we get these heavenly pianos, just, oh my gosh, as if you can't make this track even better. Bum 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 bum, and then the beat drops, and it just sends you straight to heaven. It's really fantastic. And also the ending, it's all wrong, it's all right, it's all wrong. The conflicting feelings, the emotions, it's all bursted with full colors. Next up, we have Faust Arp. And it's only 2 minutes long, and it's a pretty simplistic guitar ballad. And not a lot of people talk about this track, but damn, this track is underrated. Here's the thing. So, it's a guitar ballad. We get these finger-picked guitars, which sounds really mystical and strange. The descending chords have a certain darkness to them, which is a little scary. And then we get these strings, which are also really dark and lively at the same time. And I learned about the 0110 theory when I listened to this track a few years back, and suddenly I just get chills, I just get goosebumps. Like, wow, there's so many secrets, there's so much lore to this album and to the band's discography. It's actually really overwhelming. And I suddenly just noticed these strings that are just so dark and so mystifying. And it's like, and it just gives me such a strange feeling that I just can't describe. Anyways, Reckoner. Wow. The drums, the tambourines, they're really reverby. The guitars are quiet. The guitar chords on this thing, they're golden. It's like watching a sunset, in that the guitar chords are super nostalgic, yet calm, yet sad, yet beautiful, yet regretful, yet blissful. Just all of these emotions combined in such a beautiful, reverby fashion. It's truly one of the most beautiful chord progressions I've ever heard in music. And the vocals by Tom York is extremely beautiful and gorgeous on this track. And we also get these light harmonies, which just makes this track so much more beautiful. And also the very dreamy bridge. And yeah, it's easily one of my favorite songs on the entire record. Afterwards, we have House of Cards, which has these relaxing, laid-back guitars, which are really calming as well. We get these spacey processed strings as well. The chorus is pretty good. It's pretty expressive as well. However, I don't want to say this, but this track is probably my least favorite on the entire album. Melody-wise, it just doesn't have the dynamic or the progression that I hear from other tracks in the album. But still, that being said, this track is still better than some other band's entire discography, so it's still really good. Anyways, we have Jigsaw falling into place as the next track. Oh my gosh! Jigsaw falling into place. This track has an organic edge to it, which is just really, really amazing. And we get these guitars that are, how do I describe these guitars? They sound like you just lost something. You just lost something you love, and you feel really hurt, really painful. but at the same time you're being pushed, like, just keep going, just keep living, you just gotta do what you gotta do. And this is how I describe the guitars. They sound exactly like that message. And then we get these drums, and they're really, really tight. Phil Selway, shout out to Phil Selway. These tight drums are amazing. Tom York hops into the track with the lower register vocals, which are equally as beautiful as the falsettos. And there's a very busy, constant motion to this track that just makes this track so compelling and engaging. The beat goes round and round is a really good moment. Also, the dance, 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 dance. The music video for the track, where they strap the GoPros on their head, is really creative. Like, Radiohead has no shortage of great music video ideas. I mean, one video they do stop motion, the other video they do this really weird 3D simulation. Another video, this one, they strap GoPros to their head and steady cams and just record themselves play music, but in a very special perspective. And the ascending guitars, it's just very fiery, very intense. And it's amazing. It's freaking amazing. What can I say? Next up we have Videotape, which is the album ending, and we get these very lonesome but also faithful pianos. These pianos, again, these chord progressions. How did they come up with these chord progressions? It's very lonesome and sad. There's a certain bitterness to it, yet there's a faith to it, you know, like it believes in something and it keeps going on. The syncopated drums are ingenious. Radiohead just comes up with cool musical ideas left and right. These syncopated drums, they sound like a snap of a camera almost, because of how they're being played. And the track, the chords, they're just really beautiful, really soulful, really emotional. This track, it's about saying goodbye, but in red, blue, green. Also, the line, Mephistopheles is just beneath, which is a really special line. It really stood up to me. Like, I don't know who Mephistopheles is. I had to do research, like, oh, it's a Greek mythological god, or some sort of deity, some sort of entity. And I don't know why is this incorporated into the lyrics, but I just thought it's really, really interesting. And the way the track sort of dissolves at the end, and then we get a more stripped back version of the instrumentals at the very, very end, and it just sort of fades out. It's just absolutely beautiful and a very, very memorable ending to the album. In fact, so memorable, in the year 2018, I actually used this track as the for the last scene of a short film that I made, where a character sort of stands in the middle of nowhere and the camera just zooms outwards, and whenever we get these drum snaps, we just cut to another very quick shot for a few milliseconds and then cut back, and it's just like it just puts you in a trapped space of sorts. Very amazing, very amazing. So now we're done with the studio album. Of course, I'm not done. I have to talk about the B-sides. Actually, before that, let's talk about the live performances, because in this album cycle, when they tour, before they start performing the tracks, they actually play a small musical number before they go onto the stage with the plucky keyboards, which is really nice. And then we have the B-sides, disc 2, and we have MK1 and MK2, which are two interludes. MK1 is basically like an extension of Videotape, and MK2 is like Videotape but super distorted and strange, almost to a point where it's a little bit disturbing. I like both of these tracks. Down is the New Up is a very clear track. I don't know why, but whenever I listen to the track, it feels very clear, like I'm listening to it in HD. I don't know why. It probably has something to do with when I first listened to this track, what sort of situation in life I'm in. It probably has something to do with that, but nonetheless, it's a pretty cool sound. And Down is the New Up has multiple phases where we get these luxurious, rich, arrogant pianos, and these really warm and calm chorus, which sort of juxtaposes the very prideful pianos. And then suddenly the guitar breaks down, and it's just very strange and mystical. Bam, 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 and then we get the refrains in lower register, and then we get a sour bridge with the falsettos. It has 4 parts. The track has 4 parts, and it sort of loops one more time, and it's very interesting. And then we have the track Go Slowly, which is absolutely beautiful, where we get these very stationary keyboards that are very, very painful. Oh my gosh. Very hurtful, very sad, but also very serene. These reverby falsetto vocals are really beautiful. And then towards the end, when the guitars come in, it feels like the track is sort of laying the hard work, trying to pull itself out of a pit of pain and misery. You know, the track Last Flowers to the Hospital has these very sour and bitter pianos, but also at the same time very clean and pure. Again, what the heck is this chord progression? Even though this track is great, it's not one of the more memorable tracks. And the reason being is that it kind of sounds like True Love Waits, which is performed live in Osaka and is recorded there. And that's a really, really great sort of straightforward guitar ballad about love. And The Last Flowers to the Hospital almost gives a similar vibe, except the ending of the track where the keys change, it's really beautiful, where it's almost like out of death and misery, you're able to find life and motivation, which is really beautiful. We have the track Up the Ladder, which is easily my favorite track. Not easily, actually, because I actually love a lot of the tracks on disc 2. I mean, Down is the New Up, Go Slowly, Up the Ladder, Bangers and Mash. These 4 tracks could all be my favorite track on disc 2. So, I don't know. But out of all the tracks, if I can only choose one, I will choose Up the Ladder as my favorite track on In Rainbow's disc 2. It's from a while ago, another track that they have shelved for a while, but they brought it up again as a B-side. And we get these noisy background sound, which is really nice, and then these really gruff, hard-working guitars. It's really interesting. And then the choruses, they have these wavy keyboards, which almost puts you in a headspace, which is really special. And also the grainy noise in the second verse of the track makes this track really special. And I just really love the melodies of the track. Up next we have Bangers and Mash, which is a banger. Quick snappy drums, freaky off-kilter guitars. It's a very dry track, and it's very witty as well. It's a really, really quick, fiery banger is what this album is. Also very dry, but also has a comedic sense to it. It's got the poison. It's really, really fun, and at the end, everyone just melts down in a very comedic way. It's a really witty track. And the disc ends off with 4-minute Warning with its drony wall of noise that is very warm and calming, shaky tambourines as well. And in the core of the track is a pretty simple tune that is very warm and peaceful, and the disc ends off. So yeah, overall, Radiohead's In Rainbows is a masterpiece. Radiohead just can't stop making amazing music. They just can't stop. They just can't make a bad album. They just can't. It's impossible for them to make a bad album. I don't know why. In Rainbows is an album full of jams that are emotional, colorful, fun, and the chord progressions, genius. The musical ideas, genius. The performance, on point. The lyrics, I love them. My favorite track is either Reckoner or Weird Fishes or Jigsaw Falling Into Place. I don't know, one of them. And my least favorite is, I don't know, House of Cards. I mean, yeah, House of Cards, probably. I'm giving Radiohead's In Rainbows a 10 out of 10. So, have you listened to Radiohead's In Rainbows from 1 to 10? How much did you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching.